Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with a very special video for Father's Day. We talk about dad rock sometimes. There's some cool dad rock. There's some lame dad rock, but we're going to talk about the rock that rocks our daddies. Anyways, disregard that. But very special episode. I've been wanting to do this for the past few Father's Days, and I never ended up making it happen. But we're just talking about when we talk about dad rock, what we're talking about, those stereotypical albums that our dads just cannot get enough of. Now, I am not necessarily talking about the cool dads out there. Let's say your dad's a big Misfits guy. No, that's not who we're talking about. Or maybe, hey, anybody who was in the 90s enjoying music, that's within dad range territory. I loved this when I was young. Now I'm a dad. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the cool dads that are into Iron Maiden. There's probably a lot of cool granddads that are in Iron Maiden nowadays. We're not talking about, the tool dads. Not talking about tool dads, not talking about cool dads. We're talking about just the regular dads. Now when I talk about dad rock, I'm thinking about my dad. My dad's age. And he's into the classic rock stuff. Like I said, I'm a dad and I'm into everything. I'm into stuff that came out to today and stuff that came out in the 40s. I'm into all kinds of stuff. But the dad rock, we're going to get into it. So when I'm referring to dad rock, I'm going to share a few stories about my relationship with records and my dad. But there's not a lot there because my dad wasn't really into it. He definitely wasn't into records, but he was not really a big music guy at all. So we didn't share much with music. But there were a few albums that we shared. So I'll drop some nuggets of that in the video. But most of all, we're talking about just dads. This is in no particular order, but I'm just going to show the records that make me think of, hey, that's some dad rock. Leonard Skinner. That's some dad rock, man. I mean, this good old. We're in the South here. I'm in North Carolina. The dads around here love Leonard Skinner. This is near and dear to my heart because this is one of the very few albums that I enjoyed with my dad. We had it on cassette. He would drive me to school every morning. We lived out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere, so we'd have like a 20-minute, 30-minute drive to school every morning, and we listened to Second Helping for a solid year. The Ballad of Curtis Lowe was the song that we would sing at the top of our lungs, and we loved it. So that's why I picked this. But you could have gone Street Survivors. You could have gone Pronounced Leonard Skinner. You could have, Skinner reminds me of some good old dad rock. My dad was not into Van Halen, but I know that your dad probably is, Van Halen, big in the dad community, some dads that were just like befuddled by the shreddery of Eddie Van Halen. So, that's some great dad rock there. I don't think your dad can even have a dad card if he's not into the Stones a little bit. You know what I mean? This is my favorite Stones record. They're really super nice if you're into vinyl. Super nice original UK. But Gimme Shelter on here, I mean, come on. That's probably, yeah. It's in the dadasphere. Let's just say that. Tommy the Who. Some dads are probably into the Who, some are not, but the ones that are will not shut up about it. They love The Who, and they'll tell you all about The Who to Kingdom Come, but The Who Tommy it seems to be the one that they like to talk about how much of a masterpiece it is. And it is. It's a great record. I love it to death. Another one, just the red-blooded American dads are, Cosmo's Factory, CCR. You think about a guy standing out at his grill, grilling some steaks, some burgers. He asks you how you like your burgers. He's going to cook them all the same, but he's listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival while he's doing it. He's just a good old red-blooded American dad. Another one, this is the album that blew all our dads' minds. This is Dark Side of the Moon. It out of all the Pink Floyd catalog, if we're talking about Piper at the Gates of Dawn, that's a little bit too weird for your dad, let's be honest. He doesn't even know that's Pink Floyd. We're talking about Dark Side of the Moon. That is he sees this, he knows that prison means we're going to turn it up, we're going to turn the lights down, we're going to go on a trip to the Dark Side of the Moon. And he's probably going to tell you about how you could play this and put it along with The Wizard of Oz. I've heard a lot of dads talk about that. Look it up. Another one, I wanted to say Zeppelin's a big dad favorite. My dad hated Led Zeppelin. Turns out it's my favorite band. That's how the world works. But he always taught me that if you played Led Zeppelin before you played Stairway to Heaven backwards, there were some messages in there, some unsavory messages in there. We did it, and I loved it. And it was a very interesting learning moment. That's my introduction to Led Zeppelin, is my dad telling me, don't listen to Led Zeppelin. And if you turn it backwards, it talks about the devil. And to me, that was really interesting. I wasn't a big devil man, but the concept was interesting to me, and I got tarnished, and Zeppelin fan through and through. Another just iconic dad band is Rush. Now, I've got moving pictures somewhere in my room, and I could not find it to save my life. I looked for 30 minutes. That's the one I wanted to show. But this one's the one I've been listening to lately. And hey, let's say I've got a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they hear me listening to this all the time. We'll turn up Working Man. Come on, man. Rush is it's the dad one. For me, there's a lot of Seeger albums that could be considered dad rock. I actually have the greatest hits here as well. Got this at Walmart. There's nothing more dad than buying a Bob Seger record at Walmart. Let's put it together. But yeah, this is Beautiful Loser. This is my favorite. This is the one a lot of people don't talk about. But you got Kathmandu. Beautiful Loser, the title track is just jerk a tear right out of your eye. You got those tough dads, the ones that are working out in the gym. And what are they listening to? AC/DC, Back in Black, baby. They never even heard of Bon Scott. This is their jam. AC/DC, Back in Black. It's hard. It's heavy. It really pumps your dad up. Next, this is a little bit of the more old school dads might be into this, but I think everybody's got a little Pet Sounds in them. You know what I mean? Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. Everybody's got to get that going. Masterpiece of a record. Your dad loves it. My dad probably likes it. I don't know. We've never really talked about the Beach Boys, but even if it's just in the summertime, your dad loves it. Let's talk about the one, the only Beatles, Abbey Road. My dad told me all about the theory of how Paul was dead, and you turn the Beatles. He was really into turning stuff backwards. He was all about the clues on this album cover, where they were going. I should make a whole video about this, but Paul McCartney, he was walking out of step with the other Beatles, which means he was definitely dead. He had a cigarette in his right hand. He was left-handed. It looks like he's, wearing the Gravedigger's clothes. He's anyways, there's a hearse right there. The license plate on this Beetle, it's a Beetle, is LMW 28IF. And that was Linda McCartney Weeps, and he would be 28 if he were still alive when this album was released. All these clues on this to prove that Paul McCartney was killed. None of it's true. But my dad sure thought it was, and he told me all about it. But regardless, great record, fantastic stuff. Another one is your Eagles, Desperado. This is not Hotel California. Couldn't believe it, but I don't actually own a copy of Hotel California. But that's another one, turn it backwards. Maybe this is a theme. Maybe I need to talk to my therapist about this. But Eagles reminds me of just some steady Eddie dad rock. Everybody's dad loves the Eagles. But another tough dad moment. This is some ZZ Top Eliminator. I was going to go with Tres Hombres because that's my favorite ZZ Top record, but this is the one that I feel like it's in your dad's CD player in his car. You know what I mean? He's Sharp Dressed Man in it. You know what I mean? Legs. There's a lot of great hits, but Sharp Dressed Man is the one. He's getting ready. No one's looking. He's cranking it. Another one, and I know you guys are going to be shocked that I even have one of these in my collection, and that's Kiss. I have tried with Kiss. I'm not a big Kiss man. Everybody knows that. But this is a pristine No Kissing Time first pressing of Kiss's debut. It's the only Kiss we're going to have. I've talked about this in the past. I feel like the only people that are really into Kiss were the ones that were 12 years old when they were coming out. They were dressing up like superheroes. They were like real life superheroes. So the iconic face makeup and the costumes and the stage stuff, it spoke to a 12-year-old. 12-year-olds loved it back at that time. I don't know that there's a whole lot of Kiss fans being, born and raised nowadays. But back then in the 70s, 80s, when Kiss was in their heyday and your dad was 12 years old, he was eating this up. I'm telling you what. Another one that was one of the very few albums that me and my dad bonded with, and I'm curious if your dad liked it too, and I think he probably did. This is Bad Company's self-titled. I'm telling you, every second of this, me and my dad, we had another cassette of this. We listened to it front to back, but this is just dad rock as it comes to me. Amazing, amazing group, Bad Company. Don't talk about them enough. This is incredible. And if you're into vinyl, this is the Atlantic 75 series that Analog Productions did. It's the best sounding version possible, and it's amazing. Oh man, another one. Boston is the daddest dad rock of all time, I think. This is, well, not really. I think I'm saving that for the end. But I asked my dad, this was, I was probably 16. I said, Dad, have you ever seen Boston live? He said, oh yeah, man. Saw them live. It blew my mind. They came out of the ceiling in a spaceship. And the spaceship landed. This is in Greensboro Coliseum. Spaceship landed, and the band's playing on top of the spaceship. Blew my mind. I was like, no way, that sounds freaking amazing. He said, yeah, it's awesome. Maybe 6 months later, I said, Dad, have you ever seen Electric Light Orchestra live? He's like, yeah, man. I saw him at the Greensboro Coliseum. A spaceship just lowered from the ceiling, and the band was playing on top. It blew my mind. I'm like, Dad, I don't know who he saw. It could have been both of them. I don't know. But Boston, they got the iconic guitar, spaceship. Every single track on this is killer, and your dad loves it. You know, I don't generally collect greatest hits albums. That's one of my rules. You know, I'm not a big greatest hits albums. I'm not a big compilations guy. But this one, Big Ones by Aerosmith. I listened to this all the time when I was young. This came out in the 90s, so it's really hard to find on vinyl. But your dad likes greatest hits albums, so I'll allow it. Love Aerosmith. Your dad loves Aerosmith. And just some frosting on the tape. I didn't even realize this was in there. Some frosting on the cake. My son drew. He likes to draw my album covers, so he included a drawing in that one. Aerosmith Big Ones. All right, we're nearing the end here on the top 20 dad rock albums. I'm telling you one guy that your dad cannot get enough of, and that's Dr. Eric Clapton. He loves Eric Clapton. He likes Slow Hand. He likes all that stuff. But when Eric Clapton Unplugged came out, your dad's mind got absolutely blown. Your dad probably looked a lot like Eric Clapton when this came out in the 90s. This is the Ultra Disc One Step from Mo-Fi. Great sounding recording of this. But this is Eric Clapton Unplugged, and it's one of your dad's favorites. Go ask him. All right. This is the last one in the official list. I do have some honorable mentions. This is number one in my opinion. The band that dads just cannot get enough of. I'll tell you who it is. Can you guess? I'll give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Steely Dan. Yeah, Steely Dan. This is the UHQR, also by Analog Productions. A lot of my dad rock is audiophile, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is Asia. I was going to show Can't Buy a Thrill, because Can't Buy a Thrill is my favorite one, but I think this is kind of the one that dads are always, blasting. But Steely Dan, I mean, is the dadliest dad rock. Anyways, let's go on. These are just a few honorable mentions that while I was flipping through, I saw it. I was like, you know what? I can't really, in good conscience, put these on the top 20, but they're definitely up there. Huey Lewis and the News. Me and my dad, favorite movie that we always both loved was Back to the Future. That's the power of love. Kansas, another dad rock classic. I'm telling you, your dad loves Dust in the Wind. Just ask him. Genesis, another one. Last one's Bachman Turner Overdrive. Man, I'm telling you what, this isn't taking care of business stuff. So I want to know what your dad, tell me a story about your dad. Tell me what albums your dad loved in the comment section. Would love to hear about it. Also, if you're tired of all this dad rock and you're tired of the regular classic rock, on my website, we recommend kind of under the radar rock records. We've got a few for sale. Every month we release an exclusive release of one of these records that if you like classic rock, you probably would like these records too, but they're albums that you might have never heard of. So check out our website, Noblerecordstore.com. I'll put that in the description of this video and pin it in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Happy Father's Day. Call your dad, tell him you love him. Sit in the lawn chair with him out in the yard, crank some CCR, cook some burgers, have some fun. Happy Father's Day.